Hey guys, so today I've got a video for you that I think is going to be a little bit out there for some of you guys, but for anyone who is interested in really looking deeper into things and seeing where just seeing some levels of genius, I think this video is going to be really interesting. Basically, in this video, I'm going to show you how Sergey Ivancheglo has used the Qubic creator, Sergey Ivancheglo, or Come From Beyond as he's known, has hidden the truth of who he is and the projects that he's created in the past in plain sight. And he's kind of leaves secrets out there for you to discover. So this is as I said, you got to follow this step by step and explore a bit of it yourself. This is quite out there, but man, when you look into this, it really adds up. So let's get into it and I'll explain how this works. Okay, so yeah, guys, so this kind of came from. I'm not the only person that looked into this. Loads of people looked into this. I've discovered bits of it myself, but lots of other people discovered way more. But this basically comes from a time in the past that the Qubic creator CFB mentioned that they hide the truth in plain sight, similar to the Da Vinci Code, and they just said, look up about the Da Vinci Code to get instructions how to uncover such riddles. And here's a little experiment that I did to just see how this genius hides the truth in plain sight. Now, to understand what's going on here, you've got to look into a few things. So the first is just the number 9 and why it's a significant number. I don't expect you to believe any of this or care about any of this, but it's just really interesting. So a lot of geniuses over time were obsessed with the number 9. So, for example, Nikola Tesla was famed for being obsessed with number 9, and plenty of other geniuses were. And I believe that Sergey Ivancheglo was quite interested in this number. And the reason they're interested in the number is because mathematically it's very interesting. I'm going to share a video, and hopefully I remember to share it. I'll put it in the description, and I'll link it in the comments as well. But basically in that video, it describes the number 9 and why it's such a really unique number in mathematics. But I'll just break it down a little bit. Like if you take any angle in a square or degree in a circle. So for example, 360, you add the 3 and the 6 together and the 0 together, you get 9. Then if you go for the 270, you get 270 all equals 9. The 90 is 90, that's 9, and then the 180 is 1 and 8. 100 which is 1 plus 8 plus 0 is 9. And the same for triangles. If you have angles of 60 plus 60 plus 60, you add them all together, you get 180. Add those digits together, they all equal 9. You can do the same with whatever type of basically any shape you can do it with. If you take square, it's 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90, and then you divide it by 4. 9 plus 0 is 9. 45-degree angles, so 45 plus 45 plus 45 divided by 3, 4 plus 5 is 9. It's just a really interesting thing. I won't, I'm butchering it, but you just got to look into it and check out that video. But it's known as being a real mathematically interesting number. And symbolically, it's kind of thought to represent completion and the culmination of a cycle. Is seen as it is the last single digit number. So it's the final number, really, in many respects. And then we go back to 1 plus 0 is 10, but 9 is the last single digit number. And it's often associated with wisdom, spiritual enlightenment, and universal love. Across various spiritual traditions, it signifies the end of a phase and the beginning of something new, a perfect completion, a connection to the divine. And the really big picture of that, I'm not going to dig into it too much, but is, mathematics exists already. We didn't create mathematics, we just discovered it. It was already it's part of the universe. It exists in the universe, and we just discovered it, and we clicked on something. And a lot of people, if you watch these videos and understand it, believe that it's kind of like a direct connection to God, and it represents completeness. Again, not saying that you have to believe that. I'm just saying that this is what people believe, and what's interesting about the number, and why people like Nikola Tesla were obsessed with this number. So bearing that in mind, as I said, just want to really say it one last time, you don't have to believe that. You just have to understand why it's interesting. The next thing then is we talk about Sergey Ivancheglo or come from Beyond's projects. So we know that he anonymously created a project called NXT, and he did it under the name BC Next. And that, that's interesting in itself. So we know he created that project for a fact. We know that he created a project called IOTA. We know that for a fact. He did that under his own name, Sergey Ivancheglo. We know that he created Qubic recently. That's another project he created. So we know he created those 3 projects. That's not up for debate. It's fact. But then, and I dig into this in other videos, and it's interesting and really worth looking into. But it seems that this guy created Monero as well, and he, really understands the Monero code. It's almost definite, and again, just gonna have to trust me on this. Almost definite that he, using the name Maria, created CryptoNote and Bytecoin. Then under the name Thankful for Today, he was one of the lead programmers on these networks. And then we're pretty sure, we don't know for a fact, that he was the person called Nicholas van Saberhagen that actually went and created Monero. But basically, it's almost confirmed that he was definitely Maria, and he raised the funding to create Bytecoin, and Bytecoin turned into Monero eventually. And then, I've put this in other videos as well, very strong reason to believe that he was the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto too. Again, I'll actually put a video at the end of this video where I do a deep dive into probabilities and all the evidence of why it appears that he was Satoshi Nakamoto, and you guys can go with that. Now, I know a lot of you will doubt me on that, but let me show you how he's actually really cleverly hid that all these projects are linked. So, and this is just a note I put in here. So I believe that what I'm going to show you shows that CFB hid a message to show that all of the above things are linked, that all of this is linked. And he did it using the number 9 because that number signifies in mathematics, is significant in mathematics, and it represents the singularity. And this guy, I believe, is a technological person who's obsessed with the future, is talking about the technological singularity and trying to communicate it to us in a way like the Da Vinci Code, because mainly because he just thinks it's fun and he likes doing this stuff. So here's a list of names that I've picked, okay? So these names are come from beyond. So we know that Sergey Ivancheglo, the name that he uses online. We actually know that if you flip the letters, the CFB, flip them, they actually flip into the ticker for Bitcoin, which is really interesting. Then you've got the name Bitcoin, so that's a really interesting name. We've got the name Nakamoto, which is obviously the second name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Should also say that the letter CFB appear at the start of Satoshi Nakamoto's 264th address, 9 days after Bitcoin was created, which is a really, really interesting coincidence as well. Then James A. Donald is a person here who was the first person ever to comment on the Bitcoin white paper. But what was an interesting thing about it is Satoshi Nakamoto just posted the paper, and then almost instantly, James A. Donald commented back with some questions and pointing out some, things that he thought was wrong with it, things like that. But, this guy couldn't have, in that time, absorbed the whole white paper and, wrote a rebuttal to it and questions about it. So people generally believe that James A. Donald and Satoshi Nakamoto were the same person. James A. Donald apparently is meant to be a Canadian developer, but nobody's ever seen him or knows anything about him, so he's probably a fake person. Then this person appeared online called Giaculus, and this person claimed that they invented Bitcoin, but they wrote in terrible English, couldn't answer any specifics, seemed like rubbish, but they also then connected with this person and talked with this person called Maria, who we said actually we know funded Bytecoin, the creation of Bytecoin, which led on to Monero. And basically, Giaculus said that Maria was Satoshi, and Maria said that Giaculus was Satoshi. So that was an interesting link. Other than that, Giaculus wouldn't be that interesting of a name, but that makes it really interesting. Then we've got the name Van Saberhagen, and that's the second name of the person who created Monero. So Nakamoto and from Saberhagen's second names of the people who create Bitcoin and Monero. Then we've got Next, or NXT, which is Next is the name of the coin. Then we've got BC Next. So BC Next was the person who created NXT. Then we've got IOTA, which is the project that was created by Sergey Ivancheglo with his own name. My Last Match, which is the first game created on Qubic that's been created by Sergey Ivancheglo. Then Garth, which is the name. So there's AI Garth is called AI Garden. And then Garth is just garden in Latin. I think it's in Latin. So interesting that that name Garth exists, and I'll explain to you why that's interesting soon. And then removing the Latin, AI Garth means artificial intelligence garden. Then Phallus is a company that has huge issues with Qubic, and they're constantly arguing back and forth. But I personally believe, could be wrong, but I believe Phallus are actually controlled by Sergey Ivancheglo as well, and that's all part of his plan. Could be wrong about that, but just bear with me on this. And then we've got the name Qubic, and Qubic appeared in Satoshi's fourth Bitcoin address, which is another interesting fact that I'll explain in another video. But if we just take the name Qubic CFB, it gives us some quite interesting information. So I'm sharing all those things because I'm going to show you something really cool that links all of this information now. So let's go and look at that. So guys, for the next step of this, what we're going to do is we're going to use something called a Gematria calculator. Now, Gematria has got to do with numerology or something like that. Doesn't really matter what it's got to do with exactly. It's just interesting that there's a calculator that we can use for Gematria. There's many different types of Gematria, but the one that we're going to use is English Standard Gematria. You don't have to believe in any of this stuff. I'm not necessarily saying that Sergey Ivancheglo believes in this stuff, but I believe that this is a way that he kept an interesting message. So we just Google search Gematria calculator, and we're going to scroll down to this one called the Gematrinator, and we open that up, and we're basically just going to go and paste in these words that we shared before. So let's hop in here, and we're going to put in, first of all, the name Come From Beyond. Okay, so if we put in Come From Beyond, what we see here is that we get all these numbers back. But what's interesting is if you add up these numbers so you get 4 different things that you get an answer for. So ordinal, reduction, reverse, and reverse reduction. If we add these numbers together, so it's called the digital root is when you add the numbers together, we get 1, 5 plus 3 is 9, 7 plus 2 is 9, 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9, 6 plus 3 is 9. Now, it's pretty rare to get 4 9s when you do this. It's not unbelievably rare, but I'm guessing if you put in the names of most people that you know, most businesses that you know, you're not going to get 4 9s. You might. It's not, like I said, it's not incredibly rare, but you probably won't. But this wouldn't be by itself anything worth talking about. But this is where stuff gets interesting. So now let's put in Bitcoin. So let's close this. And we type in Bitcoin. And again, we've got 9, 3 plus 6, 9, 1 plus 1 plus 7, 9, 4 plus 5, 9. Getting a bit more interesting, but not crazy interesting yet. So let's put in Nakamoto. So you could put in firstly the name Satoshi. Unfortunately, it does not equal all the 9s. So nothing relevant there. But let's just put in the second name, Nakamoto. And we have 9 plus 0 is 9, 2 plus 7 is 9, 1 plus 2 plus 6 is 9, 4 plus 5 is 9. Again, could be a coincidence to some extent, but things are getting really, really interesting now. So now let's go to James A. McDonald, or James A. Donald, sorry, I always say McDonald. James A. Donald, and we've got 2 9s here. 3 plus 6 is 9, 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9, 7 plus 2 is 9. Now, really, really interesting. So this guy is strongly linked to being Satoshi, and his name equals all these 9s. So that's quite crazy. Then we've got the guy Jakulis, who claims to be Satoshi. So again, we've got 1 plus 0 plus 8 is 9, 2 plus 7 is 9, 1 plus 0 plus 8 is 9, 5 plus 4 is 9. Now, Jack Houlis and James A. Donald are a little bit out there of names. They mightn't link into things perfectly, but they're really, really interesting names. And what's interesting, I wouldn't care about the name Jack Houlis, except for the fact that it's linked to that Maria account that we found previously that created Bitcoin. So it links Bitcoin and Bitcoin, which at the same time links Monero to Bitcoin. And James A. Donald, the fact that he's probably a Satoshi is really interesting. So then we've got Nicholas van Saberhagen. So let's put in Nicholas van Saberhagen, who is the creator of Monero. Now, when we put his name in, we're not seeing anything interesting. But then when we do the exact same thing that we did with Satoshi and remove the first name and just use the second name, we have 1 + 1 + 7 is 9. 5 + 4 is 9. 2 + 3 + 4 is 9. 7 + 2 is 9. Really, really, really interesting again. Like now this is getting kind of crazy. The only thing that isn't crazy is if you'd believe that these projects aren't linked. But, that we definitely can show you that these projects appear to be linked to each other. So then we've got the word NEXT. That's equals all nines again. Maybe not the most interesting thing in the world because although Sergey Ivancheglo's project was called Next, it was, the ticker was spelled NXT, so maybe that's not interesting, I don't know, but the project was called Next. His first project that we know that he created, and they all these equal 9. The creator of that project was BC NEXT, again, which often was spelled like this, but that doesn't equal the 9s. But the BCNXT, 6 + 3 is 9, 1 + 8 is 9, 7 + 2 is 9, 2 + 7 is 9. Again, we're getting down an area now that we're going really crazy because Come From Beyond equals all the 9s. His first project, NXT, equals all the 9s, and the creator name that he used at that time. The creator of Monero equals all the 9s. The creator of Bitcoin equals all the 9s. So really, really getting interesting. So let's next go to the name IOTA, which is the project they created. That was the second project that Sergey Ivancheglo created. And we've got 4 + 5 is 9, 1 + 8 is 9, 6 + 3 is 9, 2 + 7 is 9. Really, really interesting. Then the project that is the first game that Sergey Ivancheglo was created on Qubic, called My Last Match. 9 + 9 + 9 + 9. Again, mind-blowing. He named that game. Then he's got something called AI Garth. Now, unfortunately, if we put AI Garth in here, it's not going to equal all the 9s. But if we do just put in Garth, which is because it means AI garden, so, why did he want to use the name Garth in there? Garth equals 5 + 4 is 9, 2 + 7 is 9, 8 + 1 is 9, 2 + 7 is 9. And then if we move on to what AI Garth stands for in English, which is Artificial Intelligence Garden, unbelievably, we get 2 + 5 + 2 is 9, 1 + 4 + 4 is 9, 5 + 0 + 4 is 9, 1 + 7 + 1 is 9. I mean, it's just mental. And then, okay, a lot of people don't believe this, but I think CFB is behind this project, Valis. I could be wrong. I've thought that before I tried this out. But there we go with this project called Valis, who's very interactive with Qubic, was one of the first projects to build on Qubic, then had a big fallout with Qubic, and has been one of the biggest communities or whatever calling out issues with Qubic and arguing with Qubic. But I think CFB is behind the scenes with both of these projects, and he's, that's a whole other story why he's doing that, but it's really interesting. But anyway, could be wrong about that, but anyway, Valis equals 6 + 3 is 9, 1 + 8 is 9, 7 + 2 is 9, 3 + 6 is 9. And then if we go to Qubic, unfortunately, if we put the name Qubic in, it doesn't equal all 9s, because if it did, this would seal it, but there's nothing of interest there. But just funny, if we do put in Qubic CFB in there, 6 + 3 is 9, 3 + 6 is 9, 1 + 5 + 3 is 9, 4 + 5 is 9. Could be a stretch there. I might be just chancing things there, but definitely, if we just look at all these names alone and see all the ones that led us to a 9. All of these led to a 9. And I think we can remove some of the ones that maybe are a little bit more questionable, like James A. Donald, Jackulus. We maybe can remove next. We'll remove My Last Match just for the fun. Garth, Artificial Intelligence Garden, and Valis, and just focus on the major ones here and do a little test in ChatGPT to see how likely all of this is, and is it actually coincidence, or could this actually, what's the odds of this just being a coincidence, basically? So let's go and hop over to ChatGPT and look at this. So guys, this is the last part of this. So because ChatGPT can take a bit of time to work out, just kind of think through things these days. I've already put the questions in and just left the answers in. But basically, in the end, I just went with all the names and stuff that I had, because I just thought it was more interesting. But what I said to ChatGPT is that I have a list of names that were created by this one person called CFB. You'll have to trust me that the names are linked, because, I can't go into giving it all the evidence of why these names are linked. And I said that I believe the names are linked using English Gematria. When you put the names into an English Gematria calculator, the resulting number always produces a digital root of 9. If I give you the names, can you run a probability analysis on the likelihood of all these names would have a digital root of 9 being a coincidence? Just basically I'm asking this, can you find this, or would it be a coincidence? So anyway, I put the names in. It says, here's the list. It runs the numbers. It goes through. It finds odds about 1 in 6 million. I asked it to go further. It finds an odds of about 1 in 4.8 million. Then I just said that it's not using the exact same system, though, that it should use this system here. And I said, do you know what site I'm using? And I said, yes, those are the outputs matched for the standard set of English Gematria tables commonly available online. And then it goes through this and sees, what I've been saying. And then I said, would you like to rerun the probability analysis and see what the odds are of this being a coincidence or not? I said, I calculated all 4 standard English Gematria totals for each name and did all the stuff that we did basically in that calculator. It said that they all have a digital root of 9. It calculated, and I found out that the odds that this could be a coincidence are 1 in 2.29 trillion. So it's saying basically that this can't be a coincidence. Now, the only thing is that it assumes is that we didn't cherry pick the names, which we didn't to some extent. I mean, if you could make any criticism, we did a little bit like Qubic CFB. I put in the CFB to make it a little less, and that worked. Qubic alone didn't work. I changed the name of NXT. I just put in next. That worked, but NXT by itself didn't work. We removed the AI from Garth and we just put in Garth by itself. But we didn't really cherry pick. We just, for Satoshi Nakamoto, we just used Satoshi's second name. We didn't use his first name. So we didn't entirely cherry pick things, but we did change things a little bit. But, when it's giving us odds about 1 in 2.29 trillion to start with, that's insane. Even if we remove some of our results, we're still going to be getting odds of millions to 1 that this could be a coincidence. So it's really, really, really clear to me that we're seeing something that's is the truth hidden in plain sight. So I recommend, guys, that you check this out by yourselves. Use that Gematria calculator and see what you think, because this is the sort of genius you're dealing with CFB. This guy is hiding the truth in plain sight, and I'm sure there's millions more examples of this, of other ways that he's doing this. This is just one way that some of us were able to discover. That's all I've got for you today, guys. I'll see you all on the outside.